I want to welcome everyone who's here in person. It's wonderful to see faces we haven't seen in a long time. And hello, those of you who are on Zoom. Thank you for joining us. I think everyone knows I'm Terri Weaver, current dean, soon to be emerita dean of the College of Nursing. And so I want to welcome you to this wonderful event today. And appreciate that you were joining us today. We really are here to celebrate and to share memories of the illustrious career and esteemed life of Dr. Mitzi Duxbury, who was the 5th dean of the College of Nursing. Is Connie here? Connie? Okay. Well, if Connie's on Zoom, I want to have an especially warm welcome to Connie Harper, who is Dr. Duxbury's cousin and friend who may be joining us via Zoom today. After my brief remarks, we'll hear from several of Dr. Duxbury's colleagues and friends from her time here at UIC College of Nursing before opening up for others, either on Zoom or in person, who want to make remarks and share their thoughts about Mitzi. As you almost certainly know, Dr. Mitzi Duxbury passed from this life on February 1st, 2020, at the wonderful age of 87. Because of the pandemic, certainly it prevented us from gathering at that time, but we're really glad that we're able to do so now. And I think it really speaks volumes about Dr. Duxbury's impact on the people and programs of this college that we should still be so moved to gather here 18 months later. I was really fortunate to meet Dr. Duxbury on several occasions. Sometimes a dean doesn't get to meet their predecessors, especially if it was several predecessors before. But I think as a dean, I can comment on and know her best about her transformational legacy that she left to me and the other deans who followed in her footsteps, including Dr. Misha Kim, who's with us today and we'll hear from shortly. You know, as I reviewed the things that Dr. Duxbury accomplished, I'm still in awe and really recognize that she was indeed a true nurse leader, way ahead of her times. And I'll share that some of the things we're doing now is because of those seeds that she planted very long ago. So some of you know that, or may not know, that her first job after earning her PhD at the University of Wisconsin in 1972 was with the March of Dimes, a national office in New York. There she was, her supervisor there was none other than Virginia Apgar, who I think you will recognize that was the inventor of the newborn assessment tool, the Apgar score. There, Dr. Duxbury developed what was affectionately called Mitzi's modules, a series of evidence-based educational modules designed to teach professionals about maternal and infant care. The modules were distributed by the March of Dimes chapters and notably were translated in many languages and shared internationally. And she was really, some of these were moved from research to practice and really effectively had a tremendous impact on patient outcomes because her focus was on the dissemination of the science and its integration into practice. With that reputation to her name, Dr. Duxbury made the transition to academia. As assistant dean for graduate studies at the University of Minnesota, where she was instrumental in establishing the nursing PhD program. Her vocal campaigning for nursing research is perhaps her defining quality as a nurse leader, although I might also suggest some others. Here at UIC, Dr. Duxbury was laser focused on strengthening the college's research reputation, in part by training and then hiring, what a great idea, promising nurse investigators. She made it her mission to attract students to the college's PhD program and then hire them as tenure track faculty. She created a college with a culture that made graduates want to stay here and engage. Among those graduates includes our very own Dr. Carol Ferentz, who retired from our college only this year, who will forever be celebrated internationally for her research contributions to healthcare and health policy. So I'd think that Mitzi's approach was quite effective. Among the other insights that made her so visionary was her understanding of the inextricable link between academia and practice. In a 1988 opinion piece published in the Journal of Professional Nursing, she wrote, "We must ask ourselves the question, are we serious about becoming a fully vested profession? Professional practice consists of both art and science. Knowledge of science is gained primarily in educational programs. Art is learned in educational programs, but is continually enhanced through practice." During her tenure as dean here, she worked on joint appointments in the University of Illinois Hospital and our college to ensure deliberate and strategic collaboration. And at that time, some of our department heads actually led units in the hospital. So it was very much a joint connection. While her model met with some resistance at the time because she was way ahead of her time, she set out a vision for academic practice partnerships that we continue to pursue today. And in fact, I'd like to share that we not only are adding another joint appointment with the hospital for continuing education, which is exactly, I think, something that Mitzi obviously was passionate about, but we also, because of our connection with UI Health Nursing and our attempt to really engage in true partnership between academia and practice, we are going to be the recipient of the New Era Award by the American Association of Colleges of Nursing. And the New Era Award is for the New Era report was about academic practice partnerships, and we're getting this award for exemplary partnership, and that's just building on that foundation that Mitzi established. In an interview at the University of Minnesota in 2010, years after her retirement, she recalled that when she was fighting for the PhD program there, she was asked by a U of M graduate school to explain, from the graduate school, to explain what exactly is nursing research. She said, "I could understand why they would say, 'What is it?' What is it you're going to study? We do draw from many other disciplines because we're looking at wholeness." So I think in trying to define nursing research, it was difficult for people to understand because it seemed like a little bit of everything, because that's what we do. We look at the whole. We don't look at one piece. Indeed, Dr. Duxbury saw this whole picture, and our college is on surer, stronger footing today because of her service some 30 years ago. Her legacy is firmly cemented here. Dr. Duxbury took one more action to forever link her to our grateful college when she established not one, but 2 scholarships for students enrolled in perinatal, neonatal, and midwifery programs. The Mitzi L. Duxbury Perinatal Nursing, Neonatal Nursing, and Midwifery Scholarship, and the Mitzi L. Duxbury Perinatal Nursing, Neonatal Nursing, and Midwifery Scholarship in honor of Dr. Alexander Mack Schmidt, and have supported 15 students in the 5 years since this was first awarded. you know, just capitalize on Dean Duxbury's dedication to research and to highlight her leadership in the college. I just want to give you a couple statistics. When she became dean, the research productivity and the NIH ranking went from 28 to number 3 in the country. She moved the Midwest Nursing History Research Center into renovated space, knowing how important that was. The college became the first World Health Organization collaborating center in nursing, leading the way internationally, which is now this whole network of colleges of nursing engaged in global health. And at the time, she also garnered the largest donation, the Piscopo Award for the Center for Narcolepsy. And she also expanded our other campuses. So she just was really helped to launch the college into the spotlight with these accomplishments. Every dean, of course, creates a heritage in which to build by. And for those who will follow, the best of deans will leave a legacy that will be felt beyond the immediate successor. I can tell you, as the 3rd dean to follow Mitzi Duxbury, as the 8th dean, that she was among the best of deans. And she was a hoot. She was funny. She pushed the envelope. She created new paths for us. And she kept everyone on their toes. So now I'd like to turn the program over to those who knew her personally and knew her better than I did, and admired her as a colleague as well as a dean. And first, I'd like to introduce Dean Emerita, Dr. Mija Kim.
Good afternoon. I guess I better take it off. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad that so many of you took time to come and join us today. It's a very special day. And I'm going to read what I wrote because I don't want to ramble and go over my time limit. So I'm going to read. I'm honored to have this opportunity to talk about Mitzi today as we celebrate her life and legacy she left to the college. I do this with one regret. I wish I could have told her what I'm saying to you today when she was with us. Mitzi's arrival at our college, she arrived at our college when the college needed awareness of nursing, of the mission, research mission. As she strongly believed that we must do everything to make nursing as a science. She began the culture change of our academic mission and developed a very strong link with clinical practice. She indeed was instrumental to develop the academic and practice partnership and began to assign department heads to the clinical chiefs at the hospital. This was an innovative and the first that the college has experienced. Her vision and support for nursing history was remarkable. She made a bold decision, and I think Terry just alluded to move our Nursing History Center from the old College of Medicine building across the street to our current location. This renewed our commitment to the study of nursing history and placed the UIC nursing on the map. Most recently, $1 million endowment to the Nursing History Center made by Dr. Karen Holm and her late husband, Terrence, is a living testimony for its significance. She's one of the speakers today. Karen, thank you very much. Personally, Mitzi is one of a few door openers for my life. She gave me the opportunities to serve as the Associate Dean for Research and Academic Affairs. She was my mentor and teacher on many administrative duties. One thing I learned from her that I still do is the use of memo to file following important meetings. Working with her closely for 5 years was a life-changing period of my career. When I think of her, I saw a person with a brilliant mind and exceptional vision for nursing, and who was creative, avant-garde, and fierce advocate for UIC nursing, and who was creative, and her energy level was surpassed by none. One episode that came to my mind was the dinner meeting I had with the deans from prominent schools of nursing, in which one of the deans casually made a comment and said, our school was the first one who was designated as a WHO collaborating center in the country. Now you can imagine the spark in Mitzi's eyes and body language. She immediately responded with fierce, forceful argument. And she made the point that that statement was totally wrong. And that was, of course, I can prove it because I was there. And yet the argument was such extent that I thought they were going to have a fist fight. It was a very, very intense moment. So I still remember that time. And I have to tell you that Mitzi was the one who instituted or developed or lobbied for the status of our global, the collaborating center, WHO collaborating center, by lobbying with WHO dignitaries. And this was after a very fierce competition with other schools' dean. And the names will remain anonymous. But it was an argument that was totally unfounded, not evidence-based, but it was there, and we needed to convince this person. And the person she was competing for the designation is a world-known, renowned nurse leader, and you can imagine who that is. And because I know this because I had the eyewitness experience as I succeeded Mitzi as the first secretariat of the WHO Collaborating Centers for Nursing and Midwifery Development. And this was, of course, done because that was formally recognized after her retirement. I have many stories that attest to Mitzi's unique leadership and contribution to our college and to the profession. As one and only IOM member in our college, she remained humble and tried to promote us to be like her. I treasure the time that I worked with her. Her legacy continues in my mind. One thing is very clear to me: nursing lost a giant nurse leader. Dear Mitzi, may you rest in peace in heaven. From your follower, Mija.
Thank you, Misha. You know, that perspective that you have about the beginning of the WHO Center is so important, because that is a tremendous legacy that we have. And still the first University College of Nursing that in the United States and second in the world is pretty incredible to have that vision. And we were so proud and pleased that you were the first secretariat. I mean, UIC has such a heritage that it's really important. And now I'd like to introduce someone who is a very familiar face to all of us, as a former department head, and that is Professor Emerita Dr. Rosemary White-Traut, who will, I'm sure, share some really important experiences.
Good afternoon, everyone. So Misha, I would think I was at that dinner too, and I thought we'd all have to run out the door. So, anyway, so thank you everybody for joining us today. It's an important day for us to honor Mitzi and her contributions to the college, to our university, and to the larger community. I have a few things that I am going to add to what Misha said. And the first is that when Mitzi came here, one of the first things she did was that she conducted a needs assessment of all the faculty and of the needs of the college and where we needed to go. So what was our mission? What was our current level of functioning? And she worked tirelessly to achieve goals that we didn't know we even had. But I'm going to tell a story because I know everybody in the room. So some of the people that have been here a long time will remember that when we started as assistant professors, there was a professor in the college. And in those days, you came to work and you were only working when you were in your office. That was what was considered work. You know, we don't do that anymore, especially in the last 18 months, we work from home. But anyway, there was one professor who would come to work, open her door and leave for the entire day, come back at 5, close her door and go home. And we all wondered, well, what does she do all day? Because she's not in her office and we were supposed to be in our offices. So that didn't last very long after Mitzi started and figured that out. She also, she was a fierce supporter of us as faculty and the university. And she tried very hard to, to promote us as opposed to promoting herself. So all of her work here was not about her. It was about all of us. And her goal was to make us a premier college of nursing, which she succeeded in. And I'm going to give you an example of promoting us. It wasn't just the faculty, it was also our students. So I was chosen by Mitzi to travel to the East Coast with one of our doctoral students, Sheila Tlau, to attend a Rockefeller Foundation meeting. And this was a very important meeting because the Rockefeller Foundation was developing their new strategic plan and they wanted to include nursing and midwifery. And instead of Mitzi going, she decided that I should go and Sheila. Obviously Sheila, because she was from Botswana and that made sense. But when we got there, all of the nurses around the table were all deans. Here was this assistant professor with, by the way, a brand new baby. And so that's how she did it. She made sure that we were all getting the experiences that we needed to have to promote our careers. And so, you know, I'll always be grateful to Mitzi for that. She was a mentor and a friend, and actually became part of our family. So I have some notes. We talked about the needs assessment. She totally realigned the goals for our college and made some fast tracking decisions. And yes, she was brilliant, a good thinker, but she always had the college's best interests at heart. I don't know, Carol, were you one of the 52 students admitted that year? Were you? Oh, so then you were not. There was one of her first years here, she admitted 52 incoming PhD students, and the faculty were all up in arms because they never had to teach that many doctoral students before. But Mitzi's response to that was, well, then you'll team teach and the senior faculty will co-teach with the junior faculty. Made a lot of sense. So she really did bring our college up to the level, as Terri said, to make us a premier College of Nursing. She also worked collaboratively with administrators across campus, and in addition to other deans that she worked collaboratively with, she also forged relationships with department heads at the university who had the most a reason to align with the College of Nursing. And I want to say Dr. Spellacy, I don't know, Misha, was he here then? It was Dr. Spellacy for OBGYN. He was one of the big ones I remembered. But of interest, a lot of those administrators became her lifelong friends, like Henry Manassi was a lifelong friend. She was a fierce defender of our college, and she wanted the other colleges at the university to know how important we were as a college and what our contribution was going to be. The elevator. Terri, you probably don't know, but she got hurt on that elevator and she was determined to get rid of that elevator. And I mean the escalator. She got hurt. Do you remember that? She got hurt on the escalator and she was determined she was going to get rid of it. And it wasn't until Terri got here that escalator walked. So the other thing that I wanted to say was that she did make decisions in the best interest of faculty, particularly junior faculty. And an example of those decisions, one time there was a course that only had like 3 graduate students enrolled. And she called that faculty member and said, I'm canceling your course and you're going to spend the semester writing. And of course, it was my course. So I was like, so she made decisions based on finances for the department or for the college, but also she made good decisions to support the faculty. I guess I'm going to end there. Mitzi, after she left UIC, became a very good friend of my family, and we will miss her.
It's wonderful how Mitzi is actually coming alive through these stories. I can just picture her doing some of these things, and I really appreciate that many of you are sharing your experiences. Thank you, Rosemary. And I also want to ask one of our former professors, Dr. Karen Holm, who I'm sure has many thoughts to share, given how close she was to Mitzi.
First thing I'd like to say is that I'm honored to be part of this tribute to a great leader. Mitzi was my mentor, she was my boss, she was my friend, and she was my Hyde Park neighbor. I can go down in history as one who saw her with her hair in rollers and all kinds of things. I miss her unwavering support professionally and personally. I miss staying at her place on Hilton Head. The long into early morning hours discussing all kinds of things. Sometimes we agreed, sometimes we didn't, as you can imagine. In her final days, she was moved from home to inpatient hospice, where she was when I last spoke with her. It was a short call and she was struggling to speak. On my end, it was a thank you. A thank you for being my friend, and thank you for everything that she did for the profession. She had many goals for the college, focused on research, strengthening ties to the hospital and clinics, and broadening our reach internationally. It goes without saying that the stature the college now enjoys can be attributed to what she did foundationally, and that's the truth. That's what you've heard. The poem in the program was written by me with input from Susan Judas, Bija Kim, Rosemary White-Traut, who along with Terri Holm were present when I read it at her 75th birthday. She was extraordinarily happy that day, and I am going to take the opportunity to read it. To Mitzi Duxbury, on occasion of an approaching birthday. Becoming our dean in '84, Mitzi got things rolling with a thunderous roar, attractive and smart. She did not tolerate nay, stimulated research in a very big way. A bargain hunter on most of days, this helped the college in all kinds of ways, from carpeting to wingbacks, leather, a new atmosphere we would proudly show. A formal convocation was one of her dreams. A stately processional was its main theme. I'll never forget this. Marching to trumpets with a loud beat drew attention to nursing along Taylor Street. Her statements and meetings were much in the know. How could she get it when we caught on so slow? We eventually learned in our own time that she analyzed and summarized in 3/4 time. Clever and astute, but also much fun, with strong beliefs, she is a powerful one. She supported student efforts, helped them to grow. She is proud of their scholarship, letting them know. Her statements, I'm kind of nervous. As peer to physicians and administrators too, Mitzi taught all to respect what nursing could do. A center for narcolepsy and history as well. She created conditions, the college story to tell. Today, 74, soon 75. It's difficult to imagine, hard to derive. No question about it, Mitzi's unique. Thus, it is without hesitation we continue to speak. From garnering bargains on Hilton Head Isle to walks on the beach, South Carolina style. Health and good times, be they without end. All of these are wishes we wish to extend. Please excuse this poem now, not always in rhyme. We will try to do better at some other time. First a dean and a colleague, now a great friend. Our good wishes for Mitzi are without end. May she rest in peace. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Karen. What a wonderful poem. And I'm impressed with your writing for sure. That was a terrific tribute, absolutely terrific. I do want to thank Dr. Kim, Dr. White-Traut, and Dr. Holm for sharing their thoughts, their remembrances, and their great times with Dean Duxbury. I know there's others with us here today who might have other stories and sentiments, and we want to open that up to you. Is there anyone on Zoom who wants to make a comment or share a story? How about in the Meja? Oh, Carol. Yes, because otherwise those on Zoom can't hear you.
Hi, everybody. I have to just really thank Rosemary, Mija, and Karen, and Terry for those remarks. You captured her so beautifully. I don't want to get teary up here though, but you did a beautiful job. Just a couple things I want to add to that. Not really adding, but amplifying if I could, because you really captured it. So I was just the babiest baby at the time that that Mitzi became our dean. And I was privileged to be a transition from graduate student to assistant professor, novice researcher, green as green when she was the dean. So her support for me was tremendously influential. She was amazing because she always had your back. Now, I have to say, she was an amazing woman. So it was sort of terrifying, you know, because you didn't want to screw up in front of her because she was so awesome. And she didn't, you know, I always had the sense she didn't have to suffer fools, so I didn't want to screw up. But she was always supportive of me and the other researchers, junior, mid-level, senior. She was absolutely tremendous. And I'm very, very grateful for that. She was a visionary and a fearless leader, as has already been attested to. She took so many chances for our college. She was such a strong person, and she just fought for us. And absolutely, as Rosemary said, it was for us that she was fighting. And she took a lot of hard knocks because of that. But she was an amazing person. And what she did absolutely put into place the things that made us what we became, which includes number 2 in NIH funding in the nation. And those things were, she put those things into place that were the beginning of that. Now, we have lots of other wonderful deans, as you know, who've carried this forward, but Mija's the one. I was here, I saw it. Mija's the one who did the really hard turning of the Titanic that set us on that pathway. What? Mitzi, did I say Mija? Mija did too, but it's absolutely Mitzi. Mija followed in her footsteps. Absolutely. As she, thank you for catching me there. Anyway, yeah, Mitzi turned the Titanic and set us on our course. And I lived it. She won, and it just one story that she told me, I was talking to her about, we were talking about fighting battles, and you know, she had a lot of battles to fight. And she said it was always like alligators nipping at your neck, you know. And so when you think about what kind of an environment that she needed to turn that Titanic in, she's an amazing woman with an amazing legacy. And yeah, we all love her.
Okay. It is hard to refuse if Mija asks you to sing. So both Dr. Holm and Dr. Kim asked me to just sing a tribute to Mitzi. And so I'm just going to do a rendition of the Irish blessing and in honor of Mitzi. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. And until we meet, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.
What a wonderful, unexpected treat and tribute to Dr. Duxbury. I went, speaking of history, I'd like Gwyneth Mobreath to come up, who is director of our center, our Midwest Nursing History Research Center. Boy, I have to take a running start with that one.
Thank you for that introduction. And I feel like it's going to be hard to follow what was just so beautifully saying for us. So thank you so much, Steve. As Terry said, my name is Gwyneth Mobreath, and I'm the director of the Midwest Nursing History Research Center. I was not fortunate enough to have met Dr. Duxbury, but as a historian, I looked into some of her history and I learned some great stories about her life. I know many of you know her professionally from UIC, so I thought I would share some stories from early on in her nursing career that you may not have heard before. I also want to thank and acknowledge JoJo Galvin, who is the center's archivist, as well as Connie Harper, who is Mitzi's cousin, who helped me with some of the photos that you saw in the slideshow, as well as finding some of the information. In her interview at the University of Minnesota, Mitzi was asked why she wanted to be a nurse. She answered, "Ever since I was a little child, I wanted to be a nurse. I don't know why. In nursing, particularly staff nursing, which is very demanding physically and intellectually, at the end of every single day, without fail, every day, you know that you've made the world a little better place. You have that wonderful sense of satisfaction and harmony and communication with patients, living or dying, or getting well, or on the way out, whatever. It is, I think, one of the most satisfying professions to be in." She would stay in this profession for her entire professional career, as many of you know. I want to share a story from when Mitzi was a nursing student at Madison General Hospital, which was a diploma nursing program that was closely affiliated with the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And they took some courses there, but it was a hospital-based training program. She would go back and get her bachelor's and other degrees later on. Anyway, Mitzi graduated high school early and had just turned 17 when she started nursing school. Her core courses were all in Madison, but her school, like many other schools in the Midwest, had an affiliation with Cook County Hospital here in Chicago, where Mitzi spent about 9 months doing her pediatric, psychiatric, and contagious diseases rotations. She talks about working in a steam room where they had all the babies with pertussis or whooping cough, and the steam would help them breathe. She talks about working on a pediatric burn unit and on a polio ward where the supplies were limited. On the burn unit, she said, they had burn units for children when it's just that pain that they're in. They had one syringe for all the injections, and they would just change the needle, but they only had that one syringe. She talks about spending 3 months on a nursing ward that took care of polio patients, caring for the children with iron lungs. Because of their paralysis and precarious position inside the iron lung, they couldn't move or adjust their focus. When she was on the ward during the World Series that year, she helped adjust mirrors so that the paralyzed patients could watch it, who were mostly young children and teenagers. She also talks about the special relationships that nursing students and the Chicago Police Department had. In her own words, she shares this story. She says, "The Chicago police and nurses at Cook County work together very well because almost nightly, the nurses are literally saving their lives. They'd come in with gunshot and stab wounds and everything. During our time off, we would be downtown funning it up, and we had this 10 o'clock curfew. We had to be in this huge dorm that held hundreds of students that was quite close to downtown. So we would just stop the police and say, 'We're students from the county.' And the police would say, 'Get in, woo, woo, woo.' And they'd just get us back on time. Even today, one of them stopped me for speeding. And after I argued with him, he said, 'Do you work?' And I said, 'Yeah.' 'What do you do?' 'I'm a nurse.' And then he said, 'Well, don't you know Chicago policemen do not give tickets to nurses?' And that's true. The next story I want to share with you is how Mitzi first got interested in OB and infant care. When Mitzi was working as a civilian nurse at Fort Riley Hospital in Kansas during the Korean War. At that time, young women were all getting married at 19 and 20. She was not allowed to marry while in nursing school, but she did so secretly because her husband-to-be thought that he was going to get drafted into going to Korea. She says, "You had these huge units of very healthy 18, 19, 20-year-old men. I had just turned 20. They were sending the military nurses to Korea, so they were hiring civilian nurses for the military. I went through all their training, and then they put me on nights. I'm 3 or 4 months out of school and got 500 of 600 patients. Well, they had excellent corpsmen. So here I come, a cute little 20-year-old on night duty. They were playing all sorts of jokes on me. They'd say, 'Oh, someone down there is having a convulsion.' I'd run out. You had to go to all these barracks. They were sort of separated by an outdoor ramp. In Kansas, they had a law that you couldn't kill skunks because they ate the bugs that ate the wheat or something. A couple times they've had these big skunks that were as big as dogs with their little babies behind them walking on this outdoor ramp. That's when they'd call me, 'Duxbury, get down there.' So I'd go down there. I actually got very agile where I could jump the fence to avoid the things and jump back down again and get down there. I took a lot of jokes, and I wasn't used to patients playing strange jokes on you. So I asked to be transferred to the OB, and they transferred me. So that's how I became interested in maternal and infant care. So I don't know if you all knew that story, but I literally laughed out loud when I read that. So we can thank skunks for Mitzi. What did you call them, Terry? Mitzi's, the educational, Mitzi's minutes or Mitzi's modules is all thanks to the skunks in Kansas. Finally, I want to thank Mitzi for her dedication to nursing history. She is responsible for finding us our current space on the 4th floor, and I'm so thankful for her vision in that regard. Mitzi was a strong supporter of history. She belonged to the Florence Nightingale Society, an international organization where every year Mitzi would travel to Britain on Nightingale's birthday in the early 1950s and visit sites important to Nightingale during her life. At the end of the trip, all the nurses would congregate at Westminster Cathedral and sit in the church in their academic robes from all the common law countries, processing with Nightingale lamps. One last thing about the History Center, Mitzi also talks about some of the special events that she participated in during her rotations at Cook County. She mentions how they would get out their sterling silver tea sets for the nurses for holidays and big celebrations. That same tea set is now on display in the History Center and was used pre-COVID to celebrate the end of the semester for the students. I wanted to end my segment listening to Mitzi's own voice in her own words.
Anyway,
What makes a great nurse?
intelligence and compassion.
Great.
Yeah, I think intelligence and compassion. And, you know, you have to have a solid background in nursing. So, I think if you have those three things, intelligence, you know your subject matter, compassion, you'll make it all right. So, I don't know, some have too much of one and not enough of another, and some people just waltz better with other people. You have to learn how to do that, how to work with difficult people. That's where your compassion comes in. And anyway, it's been a really good ride. I'm glad I chose nursing. I'd probably choose it again, even though other options might be open.
We're glad that you chose nursing too. Thank you.
Is there anyone else would like to come up? I think it's great that we're going to share with us some of Mitzi's pre-academic experiences. I think that's terrific. And now we know why she went into maternity care. I think it was all about the skunks. Who knew? But what a fitting way. If there are no other comments by anyone, what's in the chat here? Is there anything? Oh, Linda Scott says, because those of you who are here in person can't see this. On behalf of the University of Wisconsin-Madison, I am honored to be here to honor Mitzi as UIC College of Nursing Dean Emerita, nursing legend, and Badger nurse. She has indeed changed lives throughout her nursing career. And I think having heard her own words on what she thinks nursing is, a great way to end this wonderful memorial for a phenomenal dean. I do want to thank Steve George, Caitlin Canatello, Liz Miller, Katie Corby, and the entire Office of Advancement for planning this wonderful event. I appreciate everyone attending, especially Mitzi's cousin, both on Zoom and those of you who came in person. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful evening and afternoon and has fond recollection of Mitzi Duxbury. Thank you so very much.